Hi guys, welcome to another video. Ramsey here. Today we have a new series, and I've been thinking about doing this for a while. I have a couple new series in mind that I want to kind of get started, so I'm showing you some different ideas. Like I told you guys in pretty much all of my videos, the reason that I started this channel is because I wasn't too happy with the way FragCon was going, and I just wanted to make videos that something that I would watch. And the biggest thing for me is honesty, and the biggest thing for me is to be a little bit creative. I'm tired of the same top 10s, tired of the same, panty dropper list and all this stuff, 5 cheap fragrances. That stuff's boring to me. So today, this new video format I'm calling Perfumer's Portfolio. And so what I want to do is I want to pick a perfumer and highlight their work. Now, obviously, I can't have everything that the perfumer has done, and today we have an amazing perfumer to start with. One of my favorite perfumers. She used to make a lot of cheapies, and her name is Annick Menardo. Now, she doesn't only have cheapies, though, and she's done a lot of high-end work for other companies that I don't have. Like, for example, she did Bois d'Harmonie. I don't have it. She did Overture Woman and Portrayal Woman for Amouage recently. I don't have those two. Never smelled them. She also did the famous Boss Bottled. I don't have that because I don't really like that apple pie accord, if you will. But I have a list of fragrances here that I think you'll enjoy seeing her work. She makes some amazing fragrances to me. And in particular, she does an amazing job with this ambery, benzoin, feel. Her fragrances do sometimes smell a little bit synthetic, but they're so well made and so, comforting and unique. And she's willing to take chances. She's willing to try things that the average perfumer is not. So, Annick Menardo, I thought I would start this series with her. I have some bottles that you have seen. I have some bottles that you have not seen on my channel yet. So I hope you enjoy this. But before we get started, I want to do a scent of the day. You guys are probably starting to get to know my taste now. You know that I love vintage fragrances. And I'll do a vintage fragrance list one day, or a series of them, because it's going to take a while to show them all to you. This is one I haven't shown on my channel, and the writing has come off of the front. It's scraped off. You can kind of see where it used to be, but this is called Joint pour Homme by Rocco Barocco, or Rocco Barocco. I probably butchered that, but that's really the name. I'm not making that up. Rocco Barocco. I have a couple fragrances from this house. And Joint pour Homme, this is my scent of the day, is why I'm talking about it. It's not a Annick Menardo fragrance, but it came out in the early 90s, 1993, and it's a chiffre, but it's very similar to like Furio by Jacques Bogart, another discontinued gem, which I love. Think Furio, but think a refined Italian style Furio, if you will. Furio is in your face, loud, brash. This is still beautifully in your face in a way when you first spray, but it tends to start to get closer to the skin and become a little bit more wearable. So if you just can't wear Furio, even though you love it, you have to check out Joint pour Homme. And this, by the way, because I'm big on formulations, this is the Parfum 2P formula. That's the distributor's Parfum 2P. Now, this is a discontinued fragrance, so I think this is the first or only reformulation of this fragrance, if you will. So I would say get whatever formula you can find. This is a 100 milliliter bottle. I got it for under $100. I think they're still out there for 70, 80, 90 if you look. Well worth it. It has this beautiful civet that will remind you of Koras because it has the honey and civet combo. If you love those type of fragrances like I do, those vintage masculines, Joint by Rocco Barocco is, I've been wearing these niche fragrances. I did a Les Indemodables yesterday, which, I really enjoyed, Ambre Supreme, but it's this watery, airy ambergris that kind of comes and goes, and this is just exactly what I was, craving this is exactly what I was craving after a few days of niche fragrances, these old school masculines that just do it for me. So this is so good. Okay, now let's move on to Annick Menardo's work. We're going to start with one of my favorite fragrances that she did. And this is from the house of YSL, and it's called Body Kouros. And this is the original bottle with the stand on the bottom, and it says, you notice body is above Kouros. The new bottles that don't have a cap and that don't come in this style, that come in a new style that looks like a Kouros bottle, actually says Kouros Body. So body is beneath Kouros on the new one. I'm not sure if they actually officially changed the name to Kouros Body, but the original is Body Kouros. This came out in 2000. So this is 22 years old. And again, masterful work of the note of benzoin and incense here. But what she's done that really makes this fragrance unique is she used the note of eucalyptus, which, again, you don't see very often. I've mentioned this before. Creed's Royal Mayfair is one of my favorite notes of, one of my favorite uses of eucalyptus. That smells a lot more natural. This smells more synthetic, but for everyday wear, you know, Creed's Royal Mayfair feels, they're not the same fragrance. I'm just saying that eucalyptus note. And so what's interesting about it is that one feels like you have to be dressed to the nines and wearing your alligator shoes and all that stuff. This just feels like you can make it in everyday wear. She is so good at making these very interesting, beautiful, well-made fragrances that also seem so wearable. And there's this Chinese cedar note in here. There's clary sage. The performance is excellent. If that really matters to you, if you're big on performance, you know, since it's 22 years old, I almost guarantee you, unless you're a fragrance connoisseur, most people are not walking around wearing Body Kouros today. So these kind of discontinued designers, I love to wear. Well, I should take that back. This is not discontinued. This formula that I have, this version, is discontinued. I believe Body Kouros, or Kouros Body as it's called now, is still in existence. So this is her first creation from my collection that I want to highlight. The next is one that I showed off in my patchouli video. If you like fragrances like Guerlain's L'Instant de Guerlain, check this out. This is Cocorico by Jean-Paul Gaultier. This came out in 2011, so this is a newer release. It is 11 years old now. And you can see here's the bottle is very unique. It's in the shape of a head, but if you turn it this way, it looks like the side view of the famous Jean-Paul Gaultier torso that Le Male is sold in. So just a little tidbit there. If you turn it sideways, it looks like that. And so it's a very interesting fragrance because what she's basically done, and this was worked on with master perfumer Olivier Cresp, by the way. I should mention that. This is a joint creation. But what they basically did here is they took that lovely patchouli cacao that, you know, L'Instant de Guerlain is known for, that rock star patchouli, as I like to say, and they added this beautiful fig leaf at the top, which freshens it up. And this feels, same thing as I said with Body Kouros, this feels a little bit more synthetic than L'Instant de Guerlain. I think if I had to rate the two, I would put L'Instant de Guerlain higher up on my, when I wear a fragrance, what I personally enjoy list. I would put L'Instant de Guerlain first, the Eau Extreme I'm talking about, not the EDT. I think I actually prefer this over the EDT. You know, they're different fragrances, but they have the same DNA. You know, you could put them in the same box, if you will. And not many people talk about this. This used to be a cheapie. If you're a patchouli lover, and if you like dark fragrances, but you want something very wearable, you know, if you don't want to walk around wearing psychedelic all day or whatever it may be, check this one out. You can still find a good deal occasionally because no one hypes this. She also did a flanker for this, by the way. What was it called? Cocorico by Night, which I believe the by night flanker made it a little bit more green. They added bergamot in the top, and they added this rhubarb note, which I love the note of rhubarb in a fragrance, by the way. Very underused note, if I do say so myself. So I've never smelled that, though, so I can't make a comparison. But for me, I really like this fragrance. Another piece of her collection, another piece of her work that just really stands out and really shines. And such a great fragrance. And they're so wearable. You know, most of these are designers. I mean, you're not going to find, I mean, at least in my collection, she obviously has done some. I mentioned Bois d'Harmonie. She has other, you know, niche fragrances that she's done. I mentioned the Amouages, but, you know, most of these designers are what she's known for, and they're beautiful fragrances. To me, I would almost rather spend a little bit more, pay double the price of what they were selling this for, you know, in the old days, and get a fragrance like this, rather than some of the niche stuff that's coming out that's 2, 3, 4 times this, to be honest with you. But if you're trying to stretch your dollar, but you want to smell unique, check out Cocorico. And then, when you talk about unique, you know, we're basically going into the epitome of unique here. This is a flanker of Givenchy's Zerius called Zerius Rouge. And this is the vintage bottle. The bottle has now been repackaged. I think it has like a black label right here on the front, and it doesn't have the lines in it. You know, more streamlined look. But this is such an interesting fragrance. It came out in the mid-90s, right when the aquatic vibe was really going crazy, but this is not an aquatic fragrance, although it uses some very interesting notes. It uses the note of cactus in the top. Yes, cactus with orange and tarragon in the top. And then there's pimento, which is another very interesting note. I believe the pimento note comes up in Interlude Man. Or maybe that was oregano and pimento mixed together. The oregano note there was a little bit more pronounced. But there's a pimento note, and then there's this African geranium that kind of cleans everything up. There's a beautiful white musk. She is so good at using, I mentioned, you know, she's so good at using the heavy benzoins, but she's also very good at using musks in a way, not like Francis Kurkdjian, where his musks seem, you know, to almost overwhelm a composition sometimes. She uses them so intelligently, and in the heat, you know, I don't care about compliments. You know that. I could care less if somebody says I smell good, somebody says I smell bad. You know, I don't care. I wear fragrances for me as art, and that's that. And if people don't like it, oh well, it doesn't come into my formula. But people do tend to like this fragrance, especially in the Texas heat here. This really does shine. Women especially like this fragrance for some reason. They just like a clean smell, and this is unique because it has that cactus note. It's nothing like they've ever smelled. Cactus and tarragon and cedar and sandalwood in the base. Again, smells synthetic, but it's a very 90s composition in a unique way. That's not an aquatic. It's not a marine fragrance. But highly recommend you get your nose on this if you want to smell something unique. You could smell this actually at first and go, oh, I don't like this at all. This could really throw you off because you've never smelled a fragrance with cactus in it, or pimento. You know, these are very strange notes to somebody, but they took that old school. Zerius, the original, was a fougere, and it will make my fougere list, by the way. I'm going to do a fougere list soon. So they took that old school 80s fougere feel and updated it into this more modern, more wearable, well, not for me, I love wearing the old school fougeres, but maybe for the average person, a little bit more wearable, a little bit more mass appealing, but still interesting even to a frag head like me. So Zerius Rouge is number 3 on the list. Number 4 is one of my favorite compositions from her. I adore this fragrance. I'm so glad to have a bottle because apparently it's getting harder and harder to find. This is a new show on my channel. I haven't shown this one off yet. This is a discontinued designer from 2011. Same year as Cocorico, actually. And this is a fragrance from DSquared called Potion. And this is, again, Annick Menardo completely in her element. This is considered a woody aromatic by Fragrantica, but for me, it leans more to an amber type fragrance instead. So this was a collaboration with an Italian company called ITF. I'm not really sure about how that collaboration worked, but what I will tell you is that I love this fragrance. I love wearing it. It does have this ambery feel to it. You know, I'm going to say something that you'll probably never hear at any other channel. The opening of this came out in 2011. The opening of this reminds me a little bit of the opening of Royal Oud from Creed, because it has that Angelica note. Now, the fragrances are completely opposite, so don't compare them and say I'm crazy, which I might be, but just know that I'm only talking about the opening with that Angelica and thyme, and there's mint in the top of this as well to try and keep it fresh, but it's a very ambery fragrance. There's also an interesting floral facet with rose and a flower called Gentiana, which I'm not very familiar with that flower. Apparently, Hermes did a fragrance called Gentiane Blanche that uses that Gentiana flower, which I'm not familiar with it at all. But you can tell that she really likes to use unique ingredients in her compositions. There's a beautiful cinnamon note that goes with the amber in this. The amber in this fragrance is absolutely gorgeous. It has patchouli, it has her musk, it has some cashmere woods. Like I said, it's a little bit synthetic sometimes, and sometimes if you wear it in the heat, it'll almost smell not like Dries Van Noten, but gives off that warm milk type vibe sometimes. But in the cool weather, you know, and I love Royal Oud, even though it's a Western Oud. I love that Angelica. I love the note of Angelica, and it's used here to absolute perfection. And I almost wonder if they were kind of borrowing from each other a little bit, because I think Royal Oud came out 1 year after this in 2012. I could be completely wrong. I don't have it in front of me. But again, my mind is just wandering. These are just some fraghead musings, if you will. But if you love amber, and if you like some of, you know, like MFK's amber fragrances, I mentioned Ciel de Gum, I mentioned, you know, Grand Soir. If you like those type of fragrances, but you want something a little bit unique, man, if you can get your hands on Potion, check this out. This is it's a very sought after discontinued designer fragrance. Beautiful bottle too, heavy presentation. It's got the ingredients listed right here on the front. As you can see, it's an eau de toilette, and you know, heavy cap that clicks into place. You can pick it up by the cap. Just beautiful fragrance. I love this stuff, and you're not going to run into anyone else wearing this unless, you know, you and me are going to hang out at the mall somewhere. You're not going to run into anyone else wearing this. I can almost guarantee it. Okay, next, we're going to move on to a cheapie. And this would make my best cheapie list if I had one. Maybe I'll make one someday soon. But this is a fragrance from the house of Azzaro, and it's Azzaro Visit for men. And look at the bottle. Comes in this beautiful bottle. For a cheapie bottle, it's awesome. It does have the blue juice. This is not a blue fragrance. This came out in 2003. So this came out a couple years after she did Body Kouros. And this fragrance is actually the reason I never tried to hunt down Gucci Rush Pour Homme in the white bottle. It's known for being a very good sandalwood fragrance. There is no note of sandalwood listed on Fragrantica, but I get a sandalwood accord from this fragrance. The top is nutmeg, pink pepper, cardamom, ginger, bergamot. The mid is cedar, incense. Again, an incense note, just like in Body Kouros. Gaiac wood, labdanum, musk, and ambergris. Now, you're not going to find real ambergris in a $20 fragrance. So This is most likely ambroxan. And this was manufactured for CFG. I don't know if there are different, I don't know the formulations on this one. This is not a vintage. I only bought this a year or two ago. So it's not a, you probably won't be able to see, the color of the juice makes it kind of tough here. But anyways, this is manufactured for CFG, whatever that means. And you know, for a cheapie, for wearing to the office, if you want to smell good and smell unique and stuff like that, this is compared to Gucci Rush. It's also compared to another fragrance I've never smelled called Tokyo by Kenzo. Great fragrance, great cheapie. And this is the kind of stuff that she makes. I mean, her style and her ability to create what she creates almost reminds me of Nathalie Larson, who will be another perfumer on this list. I guarantee it. I'll do a Nathalie Larson highlight. They both make amazing fragrances that are considered cheapies. But, you know, Nathalie Larson's Encre Noir à l'Extrême is one of my favorite vetiver fragrances of all time. May be my favorite vetiver fragrance of all time. And it's considered a quote-unquote cheapie. But it smells so close to what Vetiver Absolute smells like that, you know, it's hard to not love a fragrance like that. Forget the price. And so this is kind of in the same vein. No sandalwood note listed in Fragrantica for Azzaro Visit. But this is the reason I never bought Gucci Rush. And then we're going to move on to a leather that I did not include in my leather fragrances. I could have. Leather is actually the #1 note in Fragrantica. It's leather and vanilla. And she created this in 1998. So this is the oldest fragrance I've shown you so far. And this is Bvlgari Black in the hockey puck, or rubber tire, if you will. And this is another one that I believe is now discontinued. This is a 75 ml bottle. And again, I don't know formulations on this. This is made in Italy, but I don't know if all the Bvlgari fragrances are or not. But long story short is if you like fragrances like this, if you like Midnight in Paris, which I love this fragrance. This is one of my favorite fragrances, especially in the cool weather. Such an intelligent, I put this in my leather fragrance loves, modern leather loves. This is right there with it. I think I prefer, if you made me pick out of these two, I think I prefer Midnight in Paris, but this came out after Bvlgari Black, I'm pretty sure. And so, you know, what she created in 1998, again, was very unique, and this is a unisex fragrance. You know, it starts out with this black tea, well, green tea is what Fragrantica highlights, but it almost just feels like a black tea note. You know, there's bergamot and rose in the top. There is a lovely sandalwood and cedar combo, which she's very good at, obviously. And then there's a jasmine note, and then it gets down into the meat and potatoes of the fragrance, which is leather. Look at this rubber that goes around the outside of the hockey puck, if you will. You know, that's the kind of leather that you get. You get this smoky, rubbery, almost like burnt tire accord. If you took this and burned it with her amazing amber. She's so good at amber. There's a beautiful amber note with her musk and then oak moss in the base. This is a lovely fragrance. It really is. I'm glad to have this 75 ml bottle because apparently they're getting harder and harder to find. So if you want this, you've got to kind of grab it because they're going fast. And then we're going to go to the last house. There's two from this house, one and a flanker. And let's start with the original first. This came out in 2000. So again, she was busy in the year 2000. That's when Body Kouros dropped. And she was obviously, you know, back 20 years ago, she was one of the hottest perfumers. And this is a fragrance called Lolita Eau Masculin. Now, this fragrance, if you like fragrances like YSL's Opium pour Homme, if you like fragrances like that, check this out. This is a beautiful anise and licorice fragrance with the note of ivy. There's wormwood, there's basil, there's violet, there's rum, there's tonka. There's an almond note in here. Terry Wasser, eat your heart out. There's vanilla. There's vetiver, cedar, labdanum. I skipped the praline note because I don't like praline, but we'll just pretend that's not even there. But again, a designer. I think I got this bottle for $30 2 years ago or something. And I don't know if this is discontinued or not. I can't remember. I think the original version had like a built-in sprayer. So the one with the cap is the first reformulation, but so what? There's nothing in here, I think, that you really need to worry about. And the fragrance, Pacific Creation created this, I guess. I'm not as familiar with the distributors on the Lollalempicka fragrances, but there you go. And, you know, you can see Lollalempicka Homme Masculin. And this is just such a comforting, you know, these designers that she's putting out are just amazing fragrances. This would be considered a niche fragrance right now, hands down. A designer house 22 years later would never release this, ever. This is, I would not think this would pass market testing. It's actually, Fragrantica compares it to Body Kouros, but they're completely different. The closest thing to this, to my nose, is something more along the lines of Opium, but this is Opium pour Homme, not the original Opium for Women, Opium pour Homme. Now, they're obviously different, and that was a Jacques Cavalier creation. This is Annick Menardo. This is her show here. But I like this fragrance, but I love the next fragrance. And the next fragrance would definitely make my top iris fragrance list. It is something that completely caught me off guard. I knew I wanted this. And, you know, I paid a little bit of money to get it, and I bought a tester. I'm pretty sure this is a tester. Yeah, it's a tester. So I bought a tester, but I don't care because I'm so happy to have this fragrance. The iris in this blew me away. And I'm an iris lover. I love fragrances like Dior Homme and all that good stuff. You know, I wore Creed Spice and Wood the other day. That has a lovely iris note in it. So the iris note is just out of this world. And it's Lollalempicka Homme Masculin Eau de Parfum Intense. You can't see that. It doesn't even say it there. Where does it say? It says it right there. And you can see it says tester right there. This is the Eau de Parfum Intense. So this is a flanker. This came out in 2015. And this is already discontinued and very hard to find. So, you know, 7 years later, and here we are. And what she basically did with this is it still has that star anise note that makes it really stand out. I love the note of star anise, all the way back to Azzaro pour Homme. And she added this oud in the mid and this resinous myrrh with iris in the base. And the iris in this is unbelievable. For a designer, I couldn't believe it. I mean, the first time I smelled this, I just was dumbfounded. And I will do a top, you know, this is not a top 10 iris video one day soon, and this will definitely be in there. And unfortunately, you know, it is a little expensive. I think I paid $130 or $150, or I forgot what I paid for this, but it's 100 ml, and you know, it's becoming rarer and rarer. And if you like this scent DNA, out of the two, the Intense is definitely the one that I prefer more, but this is still a fantastic creation. And the fact that she got to come back all these years later, 15 years later, and do the flanker from Lolalempicka is really important. I love it when the original perfumer comes and is able to do the flanker. So again, She has a lot of fragrances that are not on this list. This is not a comprehensive list. This is just highlighting some of her work from my collection. I thought it would be an interesting way to maybe discuss her. I think she works for Simrise now, or, you know, something like that. I'm not 100% sure. I'm sure there are, you know what? I forgot one. And I'm a little mad at myself for forgetting this, so I'm going to talk about it. I have the bottle, but I didn't grab it. It's Jaïpur Homme. Jaïpur Homme EDP from Boucheron is the one that I have. Also, the EDT, which came out a year later, that came out in 1997. The EDT came out a year later. The EDP came first, which is a little bit rare. But the EDT I need to get. I have the EDP and I love it, but I hear the EDT is amazing. Another cheapie, that one is still a cheapie, just like Azzaro Visit. I mentioned 20 bucks, 25 bucks. Jaïpur Homme from Boucheron, you can still get for $20, and it's this amazing cinnamon with, again, her patented, you know, ambery, vanilla, beautiful woods, just a fantastic fragrance for the money. Value for money on fragrances like this and Jaïpur are through the roof. I can't believe I forgot that. I feel bad, but I don't want to stop the video, and I don't know how to stop the video. So this is a one-take channel, by the way. If I don't get it right, oh well. You know, but you guys, anyone in the fragrance community knows Jaïpur Homme. It is based on the city of Jaipur in India. And if you look up Boucheron on Fragrantica, you'll see Jaïpur Homme. It's another beautiful creation by Annick Menardo. So I hope I did her justice. If you love Iris, check this one out. You know, if you love these ambery fragrances, this one with eucalyptus is amazing. There's so many interesting fragrances to check out. Again, this amazing amber. So check out some of these fragrances from Annick Menardo. Let me know what you guys think of the Perfumer's Portfolio, as I'm going to call it, series. And if you have any other recommendations, obviously I'm going to do the big shots. You know, I'll do the Olivier Cresps and the Jean-Claude Elenas and all that good stuff. But if you have any recommendations for other perfumers that you want me to highlight, let me know down in the comments. And thanks again for watching, sharing some time with me today. Cheers.